I sold my house to live with my son. I was happy that we would live together, but on the first night they told me, there is no place for you here. That was the moment I realized something was very, very wrong. And that the people you love the most can hurt you without ever raising their voice. I'm Helen. I'm 65. I spent 40 years in the same house with my husband. After he passed, the rooms felt too quiet, too big, too filled with memories. So when my son Aaron and his wife Mara said, "Let's all live together. It'll be better," I believed them. It sounded like healing, like home. I remember the afternoon it all started. A Thursday. I had just baked lemon bread, Aaron's favorite since he was little. He and Mara showed up with hopeful expressions. They sat at my kitchen table like they were offering me a gift. "Mom, it doesn't make sense for you to be alone in that big house," Aaron said. His tone was soft, like he was trying not to upset me. "We want to buy a bigger home, one we can all share." "It's not safe for you there," Mara added quickly. "All those stairs, all that space. You deserve something better." She smiled, but her eyes didn't. They stayed cold. I didn't argue. I just listened. "You'd have your own room," Aaron continued. "Your own space. We'd all be together." "A fresh start," Mara said. "A real family home." And then came the ask. "But we'll need a little help with the down payment," Aaron said. Mara followed up right away. "It wouldn't be a handout. You'd be living there too. It's an investment for all of us." I felt nervous. I was giving up my house, the one I built a life in. But the idea of not being alone, of being part of something again, that was tempting. So I said yes. I sold the house. I signed the transfer. I wired them every cent. I packed what I had left into boxes, things that held meaning. My husband's favorite chair, our wedding photo, a quilt I sewed the year Aaron was born. I labeled everything, sealed the boxes, and waited for the moving truck. When I arrived at their house, the one I helped pay for, I felt nervous, but happy. Aaron opened the door. He didn't smile. "Hey, Mom," he said. Flat. No joy. No welcome. Mara stood behind him with her arms crossed. Her lips turned upward, but her eyes didn't move. "Come in," Aaron said. I stepped inside. The house was modern. New. Cold. It smelled like fresh paint and lemon cleaner. "It's beautiful," I said. "Where should I put my things?" They looked at each other. A quick glance, but it spoke volumes. Something was wrong. "We actually wanted to talk to you first," Mara said. I froze. "Okay." Aaron scratched the back of his neck. "We miscalculated the space. The rooms are smaller than we expected. And with the baby coming," Mara added, "we realized we don't really have room for a full-time setup for you." "Baby?" I blinked. "You're expecting?" "We were going to surprise you," Mara said. "But now we're kind of overwhelmed." Aaron nodded. "We found a place nearby. A nice community. We scheduled a tour for tomorrow. It's really well reviewed. You'll have your own room," Mara said. "Private bath. There's even a tea hour." My heart sank. I hadn't even unpacked. I was still holding the handle of my suitcase. "But I thought I was living here," I said. Aaron sighed. "Mom, we thought it would work. But it's just not practical." Mara added, "We didn't realize how much stuff you were bringing." My things? I had given them my house, my savings, my trust, and now they were talking about my boxes like they were the problem. "You'll be more comfortable there," Aaron said, gently. "It's better this way," Mara repeated. Her tone was firm now. Final. Every word was like ice water. "If that's what's best," I heard myself say. I don't know why I said it. I think I was too shocked to argue. Or maybe part of me still wanted to believe it wasn't happening. They smiled, relieved, like they had just finished a hard conversation they'd rehearsed. I slept in a guest room that night. My boxes stayed sealed. The next day, Aaron and Mara drove me to the facility. "It's not far," Aaron said. "We'll visit." Mara handed my bag to the staff and said, "She likes tea before bed." They stayed for 10 minutes. Erin kissed my cheek. Mara hugged me quickly. "We'll come by soon," she said, already walking toward the door. Then they were gone. The room they left me in had beige walls, beige carpet, beige curtains, one bed, one chair, one dresser. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the window. I felt nothing. Not yet. I unpacked slowly. I put my husband's photo on the table, the quilt at the foot of the bed. I made tea and tried to settle. That weekend, they didn't call. Or the next. Mara sent a text, "Hope you're settling in," smiley face. That smiley face felt like a slap. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I locked my phone. I sat in the common room with a cup of weak tea. Around me, 2 women played cards. Another stared at the TV with blank eyes. I had never felt more alone. They had promised togetherness, safety, family. What they gave me was a beige room and a broken heart. Erin had called it practical. Mara had called it comfortable. But what I felt was abandoned. I remembered every word they used to sell the idea to me. Each one now felt like a lie. "We want you with us. You're part of this. It's your home too." None of it had been true. I sat in my room that night and wrote in my notebook. Some things break quietly. Some betrayals come with smiles. I underlined it twice. Outside, the wind shook the trees. I had thought I was needed, but now it felt like I had just been used. And I wondered if they had planned it that way all along. They said they'd visit. They didn't. 3 weeks passed. Not one call. Not one knock at the door. I started counting the days since I had last seen their faces. I stopped at 21. After that, it started to feel like I was counting something that had already ended. I tried to tell myself they were busy. The pregnancy, the move, the new house. But those excuses began to crumble the more I sat alone in that beige room, listening to the hum of the radiator instead of voices I loved. Every day, I walked past the front desk, hoping to see a message. A missed call. Anything. Every day, there was nothing. I kept my phone charged, kept it by my side, just in case. Even though the last text Mara sent still sat unanswered on my screen. "Hope you're settling in," smiley face. That smiley face haunted me. What was I supposed to say back? That the room they left me in felt like a waiting room for people they didn't want to see again? That every beige wall reminded me of how easily they erased me from their lives? The staff were kind. Too kind. They spoke to me like I was fragile. Like I was one long sigh away from breaking. I smiled. I nodded. I said thank you even when I didn't feel grateful. Because what else was there to do? I tried to fill the days. Crossword puzzles. Sitting by the window. Drinking too much lukewarm tea. Saying good morning to people I barely knew, whose names I forgot as soon as I heard them. My body was there, but my mind was somewhere else, stuck in a loop of quiet disbelief. Until one evening, something changed. I was scrolling through my phone, not out of interest, more like habit. A way to fill the empty air. That's when I saw it. A photo. Mara, standing next to her parents in front of a beautiful white house with green shutters. Her father held a golden key. Her mother beamed at the camera. And behind them, Erin, my son, stood smiling, arms around all 3 of them. The caption underneath stopped my breath. A new beginning for Mom and Dad. Couldn't have done it without our amazing kids. #grateful #family first. I stared at the screen. Then I zoomed in on the photo. On the door. The welcome mat. The garden gnome by the steps. It was a different house than the one I helped pay for. Another house. I didn't need to ask where the money came from. They didn't buy one home with my money. They bought 2. One for themselves. One for Mara's parents. And for me? A nursing homeroom with beige curtains and weak tea. I sat there, phone in hand, unable to breathe. My heart beat louder than the television in the common room. My mouth was dry. My fingers trembled. But I didn't cry. Not yet. I opened the comments under the post. All praise. All heart emojis. You two are such good kids. Your parents must be so proud. This is what family means. I felt sick. They used my money. And they didn't even mention me. Not once. Not a word. I was erased so completely, it was as if I had never existed at all. I went back through Mara's profile. Post after post of baby room renovations. Weekend brunches. New furniture. Nothing about me. Nothing about the woman who gave up everything for them. And then, another photo. A close-up of a new painting. The caption read, "A house becomes a home when it holds the people who matter most." I dropped the phone on the floor. The resentment didn't come all at once. It came in waves. First, confusion. Was this a mistake? A misunderstanding? Surely Aaron didn't. Then, denial. Maybe the money came from somewhere else? Maybe they got a loan? Then, reality. My name was on that transfer. I had the receipts. They hadn't just betrayed me. They had used me. I sat in the chair by the window, staring into the dark. I remembered how Mara said, "We'll need a little help with the down payment." I remembered how Aaron called it an investment. I remembered how they said, "It's your home too." Every one of those words felt like a slap now. They never planned to keep me. They just wanted the money. I was useful until I wasn't. The moment they got what they needed, I became an extra item on their to-do list. Something to be relocated, repackaged, removed. I thought about the night they dropped me off here. Mara had smiled and said, "They have great group activities. You'll meet people." As if making friends in a facility was equal to being surrounded by family. Aaron had said, "We'll come by Sunday." He never did. I thought about how they had carefully moved my boxes into the nursing home room, but never unpacked a single one. Like they couldn't wait to be done with me. And I thought about the lemon bread. The last one I ever baked in my kitchen. The kitchen I gave up for them. I felt rage. A quiet kind. The kind that sits deep in your chest and spreads like cold. I stared at the phone again. At the photo. Her parents. Smiling. On my dollar. I picked up my notebook and opened to a fresh page. This time, I didn't write a quote. I made a list. My house. Sold. Money wired. $246,000. Promises made. Togetherness. Safety. Family. Reality. Abandonment. Silence. Betrayal. I circled the last word twice. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat there, going over everything in my mind. Every word. Every glance. Every moment I should have questioned, but didn't. I replayed it all. Mara's cold eyes when she smiled. Aaron's careful tone, practiced like a speech. How they called it a new beginning, but only for themselves. I remembered how Mara said, "We didn't expect you to bring so much stuff," the day I moved in. Like my memories, my belongings, my life, were clutter. They had gotten rid of me without actually saying the words. I started to wonder, had they always seen me as temporary? Had this been the plan from the beginning? And then came the worst thought. Did Aaron mean it? Did my own son believe I was worth less than her parents? Less than a second house? The silence they left me with was worse than shouting. Worse than arguments. Because it told me I didn't even matter enough to explain myself to. In the morning, I made a call. I hadn't spoken to Tom, my late husband's old friend, in years. But I remembered what he told me at the funeral. "If you ever need help, Helen, real help, call me." He picked up on the third ring. "Helen? Everything okay?" I didn't answer right away. My throat tightened. But finally I said, "I think I made a mistake. A big one." He listened. I told him everything. How they convinced me to sell the house. How they promised we'd live together. How they used the money for 2 houses and gave one to Mara's parents. How they left me here. He was quiet for a while. Then he said, "Give me a few days. I'll make some calls. We'll get your name off that sale. If it's still in your name, we have options." I didn't know what that meant. But for the first time in weeks, I felt something different than pain. I felt power. It didn't happen overnight. Revenge, if that's even the right word for it, started with a decision so quiet it felt like a breath. I stopped answering their messages. The first came from Aaron, 4 days after I spoke to Tom. It was short. Hey, Mom. Been thinking about coming by Sunday. Mara's feeling a little tired, though. Let's play it by ear. I read it. I didn't respond. 2 days later, another message. This time from Mara. Hey, Helen, smiley face. Just checking in. Hope you're loving the gardening club. Let us know if you need anything. That fake cheer. That emoji again. I didn't respond to that either. It was the smallest kind of resistance, but it felt huge. For once, I wasn't performing. I wasn't playing the role of the grateful mother. I wasn't absorbing their selfishness and folding it into forgiveness. Tom called me back the next week. He sounded steady, serious. I had someone pull the title records, he said. The house is still in your name. Technically, you own half. That gives you leverage. I didn't fully understand what he meant, but I trusted him. He told me not to contact them yet. Told me to wait. He'd handle it. And so I waited. Not helplessly, not anymore. I waited with purpose. I started doing small things. Little acts of reclaiming. I took down the framed family is everything print that hung above my bed, the one Mara gave me when I moved in. I placed it face down in the drawer. I didn't throw it away. I wasn't ready yet. But I didn't want to look at it. I unplugged from the group activity text chain. I stopped going to the bingo nights and knitting socials. I didn't want distractions. I needed quiet. I needed time to think. The staff noticed. One of the nurses asked if I was feeling lonely. I smiled and said, no, I'm just sorting through things. She nodded like she understood. Maybe she did. I kept reading, rereading the messages, replaying the drop-off day, over and over. It didn't hurt less, but it started to make more sense. The truth wasn't buried anymore. It was just ugly. They had seen me as a wallet with feelings, a burden with money, and the resentment inside me wasn't a fire. It was ice. Clean. Still. Dangerous only if you didn't see it coming. Then came the twist. Tom emailed me a scanned document. It was the original house contract, the one Aaron and Mara had signed. There, written clearly, was a clause I hadn't noticed before. In the event of sale or default, all contributing parties shall retain right of equity. I had equity. Legal equity. But what caught my eye wasn't the legal language. It was the handwriting. Next to my name, Mara had written a note to the notary. Non-resident party. Transitional. Transitional. That word felt like a blade. I remembered another time someone called me that. When I was 22 and pregnant with Aaron. My father told me I had made a mistake, that I could stay with them, temporarily. Until you get your act together. He called me transitional, too. A guest in my own family. And now, all these years later, my daughter-in-law had used the same word. Like I was just passing through. Not permanent. Not wanted. That one word, scrawled in blue ink, took me back to every time I'd been tolerated but not embraced. It hit harder than I expected. Because I had always told myself Aaron was different. That no matter what, I had raised a son who loved me. But if he let her write that, if he signed it, then maybe he wasn't different after all. Maybe I had just been wrong. I stared at that note for a long time. And then I closed the document. One morning, Tom called again. I filed the paperwork, he said. The house is going on the market. They'll get notified this week. I didn't ask what that meant for Aaron or Mara. I didn't care. I only said, thank you. That night, I turned off the phone. I wanted one more moment of peace before everything changed. The next day, the storm began. Aaron called. 4 times in a row. I didn't pick up. Then came the texts. Why is there a sign in front of the house? Followed by, Mom, did you do something? Then, we need to talk. I let it sit. The next day, Mara called. Her voicemail was sugary at first. Helen, honey, I think there's been a misunderstanding. We didn't know you were still on the paperwork. Can we sort this out calmly? Then another message. Angrier. You're hurting your own family. This isn't okay. And another. Do you want to ruin your son's life? Is that what this is about? Each word landed differently. Not because of what they said, but because I saw through it. Guilt wasn't love. Silence wasn't peace. Obligation wasn't care. They never loved me the way they pretended to. And now they were furious that I'd stopped pretending to. Tom called again that evening. They tried to contest it. But it's clean. The sale will go through in about 30 days. I whispered, good. I stared at the window that night. It was raining. The drops hit the glass like soft reminders that something was washing away. The next morning, Mara showed up. Not at the front desk. At my door. She had on a coat that looked expensive. Her makeup was perfect. Her eyes weren't. I didn't invite her in. She didn't ask. She stepped just inside the doorway and said, "What are you doing, Helen?" I didn't answer. She looked around the room like she expected to find some explanation taped to the wall. "You know this isn't fair, right? We let you live with us. We cared for you." I felt the resentment crawl back up, slowly, like it had been waiting to speak. "You let me live in a house I helped buy. For one night," I said. Her jaw tightened. "You dropped me off here like luggage," I added. "You didn't ask. You decided. We thought it was best for everyone," she said. "You didn't ask me what I thought?" I replied. She shook her head. "We're family, Helen. We made a mistake. But this is correction," I interrupted. My voice didn't shake. "This is balance." Her eyes narrowed. "You're turning Aaron against his own family." "No," I said. "Aaron did that himself. I just stopped covering for him." She left without another word. Tom called later that night. "They want to negotiate," he said. "They offered to buy you out if you remove the listing." I said no. He didn't argue. The days passed. Slowly, quietly. I still sat by the window, but now I noticed things. The flowers outside. The way the light shifted on the wall. I wasn't waiting anymore. I was watching. The last time I heard from Aaron was a message that read, "Why are you doing this to us?" I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed one word. Enough. I didn't send it. I just deleted the thread. There was nothing left to say. The quiet was the first sign that something had changed. Not the kind of quiet that fills a nursing home on rainy mornings, or the silence that follows small talk in the hallway. This was different. It had weight. Like the space around me had finally exhaled. The day the for sale sign went up, something cracked in them, and I felt it, even from my small room. They didn't call that day. Not right away. But Mara eventually sent a text, "Please take the sign down. We're getting questions from neighbors." I didn't reply. She followed with, "This is embarrassing." Embarrassing. The word lit something in me. She was embarrassed, not sorry. Not confused. Not even surprised. Just exposed. Because someone might find out what they did. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't sad. I was watching them unravel from a distance, and I felt still. That night, Tom called. "It's moving faster than we thought. They're scrambling." He paused. "Helen, they've listed Mara's parents' house." I blinked. "Already?" He confirmed it. "Looks like they're trying to pull together cash." For weeks, I had imagined this moment, what it might feel like to know the lie was collapsing, to know their world, built on my back, was cracking. And here it was. Not with screams, not with apologies. Just desperation. They'd bought a second house with my money, and now they were selling it to keep the first. The pyramid was falling. The next morning, I received a group message. From Aaron. A family group chat I didn't even remember being added to. "Mom, this has gone too far. We're drowning. Mara's parents are having to sell their home. We didn't mean for it to go this way. Please talk to us." I reread the message 3 times. We didn't mean for it to go this way. Like this wasn't entirely of their making. Like I had done something by refusing to keep playing my part. Then another message. We were trying to build something. For everyone. Why can't you see that? Because everyone never included me. I thought about replying. Just a few words. But I didn't. Instead, I scrolled back through the chat. All the messages. Not one of them said, "We're sorry." Not one of them asked what I needed. Every word was about them. Later that week, one of the nurses handed me a package. A manila envelope with a note. Urgent, from Aaron. Inside were printouts, bank statements, letters from loan offices, a typed note. Please reconsider. We're going to lose everything. No greeting. No signature. No apology. Just numbers. Just panic. They didn't want me back. They just wanted me quiet again. I placed the papers back inside and gave them to Tom. They've started calling my office, he told me. Multiple times a day. We've got everything logged. Then he hesitated. They might try to come here. You should be prepared. I nodded. 2 days later, they did. They came together. Aaron looked like he hadn't slept. Mara wore sunglasses indoors. They didn't ask for permission. They waited in the lounge until I walked in, then stood up at the same time. Aaron spoke first. Mom, we're not here to fight. Mara chimed in. We just want to talk. Face to face. No lawyers. I sat in a nearby chair. I didn't say a word. Aaron shifted his weight. We made mistakes. Big ones. But we're your family. Doesn't that mean something? I looked at him. The boy I raised. The man who watched me sign away my home and said nothing. You never apologized, I said. You never even asked how I felt. Aaron opened his mouth. Closed it again. Mara said, we thought you were okay. You didn't say anything. Because I didn't want to believe it, I said. Because I raised you to think family meant protection. Not silence. Aaron rubbed his eyes. Mom, please. If the house sells, we'll have nothing. We'll be on the street. It was hard not to react. His voice trembled like he expected me to fold, like the sound of his desperation would pull me back into the role I had played my whole life, the fixer, the one who saves. I could have yelled. I could have listed every sacrifice, every lie, every time they used me like a lifeline and then cut the rope. I remembered birthdays spent alone. My retirement funds poured into their kitchen renovation. The nights I sat in that beige room, waiting for a knock that never came. But I chose something else. Silence. Because silence, this time, was my power. I'm not saving you from what you did to me, I said finally. I already did that for too many years. Mara stood up sharply. So that's it? You're just going to destroy your own son's life? No, I said. You already did that. I'm just stepping out of the way. They left. But the most unexpected thing happened a week later. A letter arrived, handwritten, no return address. The envelope was soft blue, like the kind you save for birthdays. Inside was a single note, written in careful, looping script. I saw what you did. You reminded me that we don't have to keep forgiving people who keep choosing to hurt us. Thank you, a friend. I stared at it for a long time. It wasn't signed. I didn't recognize the handwriting. But I pressed the card to my chest and breathed. 3 days later, Tom called to confirm. The sale had closed. Their house was no longer theirs. The equity was mine again. The balance restored. Still, no apology. No thank you. Just silence. But this time, it didn't hurt. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't waiting for someone else to give me peace. I had taken it back. Some things don't end with a bang. Sometimes, the loudest moment in your life is a quiet one. It had been 2 weeks since the house was sold. I hadn't heard from Aaron or Mara. Not a call. Not a message. Just silence, but not the bitter kind anymore. This silence felt earned. Deserved. The staff at the facility noticed the difference in me. I stood straighter. I smiled more often, not out of politeness, but because something inside me had settled. One morning, I got a call from Tom. "I have something for you," he said. "I'll drop it off myself." He arrived with a folder and a small white envelope. "The check from the house sale," he explained. "And the final paperwork. It's all yours. No strings attached." I took the envelope with both hands, gently, like it might disappear. It didn't feel like money. It felt like proof. Proof that I hadn't imagined the betrayal. Proof that I had done something about it. Tom looked around the room, then back at me. "You know, Helen, most people wouldn't have followed through. They'd have folded. You didn't." I gave him a tired smile. Maybe I was tired of folding. He stayed for tea. We didn't talk much. But when he left, he said something that stayed with me. "You didn't just get your money back. You got yourself back." That evening, I sat by the window with the envelope still in my lap. I thought about everything: the lemon bread I baked on the day they pitched their plan, the beige walls of the nursing home room they dropped me into, the moment Mara called me transitional. And then I remembered something that made my throat tighten. My husband's voice. Years ago, long before he passed, he once told me, "If they ever stop seeing your value, don't let that make you forget it." I hadn't remembered that in so long. But now, it felt like he'd whispered it to me yesterday. The next day, the calls started again. Blocked numbers, unlisted IDs, messages left on the front desk. The first voicemail came from Mara. "Helen, we're sorry. We were overwhelmed. We didn't know how to fix it. Can we talk?" Then Aaron, "Mom, I know we messed up, but we're still family. Please don't shut us out forever." There it was again. Please. For them. Still no words asking how I was. Still no question about what I needed. It was about loss. Their needs. The resentment came back in a slow wave. Not loud, not angry. Just steady. I remembered the birthdays they forgot. The holidays I spent alone. The years I paid off their credit cards, believing they'd learn, only to be used again. I remembered the beige room. The way Mara had looked relieved when I agreed to move. Like she'd finally cleaned up a mess. I thought about replying. About sitting down with them. But something inside me said, not yet. A few days later, the facility manager told me someone had come by and left flowers. No card. Just lilies in a glass vase. I didn't take them. "Give them to the front desk," I said. "They'll brighten up the lobby." That afternoon, I wrote a letter. Not to them, to myself. It wasn't long. Just a few lines. You don't have to earn love by giving everything away. You don't have to keep proving your worth to people who are determined not to see it. You are not disposable. I folded the letter and placed it in my nightstand. Then I made a decision. With Tom's help, I found a small apartment. Nothing fancy, a modest place in a quiet neighborhood. But it was mine. The day I moved in, the manager handed me the keys and said, "Welcome home." I cried. Not because I was sad. Because I finally felt free. I decorated slowly. One photo at a time. I put up the wedding picture. I hung my son's baby photo. Not out of longing, out of truth. That part of my life mattered. Even if they forgot it, I wouldn't. I didn't invite anyone. I didn't tell Aaron or Mara. I didn't know them that. 1 week later, I received a letter from Aaron. Handwritten. "Mom, I know it's probably too late. I just wanted you to know. I do see what we did. I don't know how to make it right. But I'm sorry. For real. And I hope someday you'll forgive us. If you ever want to talk, I'll be here. Love. Aaron." I read it twice. Then I folded it neatly and placed it beside my own letter. I didn't call him, but I didn't throw it away. Some doors stay closed forever. Some just need time, and maybe, just maybe, one day I'll open that one again. But not because they need it, because I'm ready. For now, I sit by my own window, with my own tea, in my own home, and for the first time in years, I feel whole. I still have the thank you note from the stranger. The one who saw my strength from the outside, Sometimes we need a witness, even if it's just one. I look at that note often, not to remember the pain, but to remember the moment I chose myself. You don't have to earn love. Rejection, sometimes, is a door you lock and never open again. And sometimes, it's a door you close gently, turn away from, and never look back. And if you've ever felt like you don't belong, you're not alone.